certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Section 30A, subsection 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. The meeting of the Southborough Historical Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. And the Governor's March specific information and general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website, www.southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so in the following manner: southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event we are unable to do so, despite our best efforts, we will post on the Southborough website or audio, video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive recording of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Call to order. Thursday, April 15th at 6:16 p.m., the day after the Titanic sank.
The day of the marathon bombings.
Is it really? Welcome, Sally. Welcome, 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 welcome. Okay, we're going to try to whip through this very quickly. Approved minutes for the February meeting. Has everyone had a chance to look over those? This will be our last meetings from our dear friend Dean. Minutes. He has decided to retire. We'll be very sad to see him go because these were terrific minutes and he did a remarkable job. We are looking for someone else. I talked to Pam Laflamme, and I think I got that right. Lefrancois, exactly. Sorry, I was getting that confused.
With Tom Laflamme, yeah.
And they've put it in our in their notice for their newsletter. So hopefully we will find someone. I thought we had someone lined up, but I didn't move fast enough. Talented people get scooped up in this job. I'd like to vote. Let's see, let's start with a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second?
Second, sorry.
Fine. Kate?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Annie?
Yes.
Rebecca?
Yes.
Amanda, are you here? I don't still see if I see you. And Wyson says aye, and so we are set to go with that.
Michael, sorry to interrupt. I'm just letting you know, and sorry I was distracted. Tim just was letting me know that you're the host now.
Okay, great. And so that means
sorry.
that's fine. That means I'm going to make, who can I make? Let's see, Kate, we're going to make you the co-host.
Oh my God, I'm not qualified for that.
Yes, you are. You know more Zoom than anybody else. So we'll make you the co-host because our dear Rebecca is taking minutes for this meeting, our vice chair. She's back in that role temporarily, which we promise will not keep her in for very long. Okay, so Sally's here to join us. By the way, where is Kevin?
He's here.
Is he here? Kevin,
Yep.
Speak up.
I am here.
There you are. Hello. So
Hello.
Kevin's going to be joining us briefly, but he and I had a lovely, lovely conversation the other day about the downtown district and his concerns. And he was so informed and actually pointed out to us that we had lost the Common Street sign that I asked him if he'd like to stop by and see if he'd like to join our merry band, which he has tentatively agreed to do. So he's here just to say hello, and also a little bit later to give his take on the downtown district bylaw discussion. So in the meantime, though, we'll move right on over to Sally. So Sally, tell us about all the lovely people that you have found, veterans in particular, that are buried in our old burial ground.
All right. What I did was I started with the old pamphlet that the Southborough Historical Society had of Southborough soldiers in the War of the Revolution. And I went through them all. And there are a lot. And I found that 27 of them are in unmarked graves in the old burial ground, and 36 are in marked graves. So that's a total of 63 veterans who are buried there. Of those 63, there are 9 that I cannot document as having any military service. I'm still working on that, but anyway. 38 of those 63 answered the alarm on April 19th, 1775. 5, and 7 of them did nothing beyond that. 14 of them spent 3 months in Cambridge or Dorchester Heights. 5 served as guards in Roxbury, 17 marched to Bennington. 4 went to Fort Ticonderoga. 2 were in Claverack, New York. 6 were in the Albany region, which Claverack also is. 4 were fined for refusing to march to Albany. They were all in their 60s and 70s at that time. So I think it's kind of understandable that they did not want to go marching off to Albany.
In the middle of
and-
winter, we would add, wasn't it fall or winter at the time?
Yeah. 1 served in Rhode Island, and there were several at West Point. And then there were a few who actually enlisted and served for 3 years, including 2 of whom died at Valley Forge. They are not buried in the old burial ground. Their bodies were not brought back. And the furthest south I found that any of them had served that I've been able to document is Trenton and Princeton. So that's my summary of what I found so far.
And so it was Colonel Fay or one of the Fays that was poisoned in New York.
That's the rumor. He died in New York. Yes.
That's right. And so he's the only one that's actually that died during the thing that is buried there, because the other
Yes.
2 Valley Forge are missing.
Right.
I see. So the other folks served and then came back and lived out their lives and then were buried there, right?
Yes.
But there are also other people that were not born here that you found that actually served.
Well, I included the one so far that I found in my statistics, the Barzillai Bannister, who served.
Oh, that's your favorite.
It is. I love his name.
Yeah, you love his name. I know. I love that.
However, apparently there was, trauma from serving back then too, because he committed suicide. His manner of death is recorded. There's a wonderful book called The Burial Book, where the guy that did the grave digging recorded all the deaths, and he sometimes gives very interesting descriptions of how the people died.
So the impetus.
I'm telling you, waiting to hear this particular one. You teed it up.
Yeah.
So the impetus behind this was, I'm sorry, what, Jim, what were you waiting to hear?
Exactly how this person died. That was so interesting. She teed it up and then took it away.
Oh, well, no, I mean, it said that he blew his head off with a shotgun, this particular one. But I don't remember some of the others offhand because it wasn't relevant to tonight.
No, I'm sorry. I thought it was something particularly unusual.
Well, that's fairly unusual, Jim. Yeah, well, suicide is nothing new, as we well know. So the impetus behind this all was to actually see who from Southborough served and where they served and under what banners they served. Now, granted, a lot of this history has started and research has started with our work on the old burial ground and our interactive map that Sally has been so involved with from the very beginning, and Rebecca and all the other folks. But just as a counterpoint to these discussions, it seemed if we were going to be talking about what flags were appropriate to fly in the old burial ground, that it would be appropriate to know where the veterans actually served. And so now I think we have a very fairly well and fairly detailed report, probably as best as it's ever going to be, of where these folks served. And it was under none of these Southern banners. So, without further commentary, I'm just going to say that those banners are not applicable, and we now have the research to show to the veterans that were buried in the burial ground here in Southborough. So I think that kind of puts to rest, various rumors and questions that were swirling around about, these various images, and hopefully we will soon have resolution of this. I learned from the last selectmen's meeting that the selectmen have put this issue up for debate on the 4th of May. Initially, from my reading of this, they had just invited Mr. Wynot and Mr. Kalenda to present to them. However, I had some back and forth, very polite, today with Marty, and he said that, of course, anyone time providing who wants to present at that time should be able to do so. He also referenced a letter that Mr. Kalenda and Mr. Wynot had sent to them, which he referred to repeatedly. I've requested a copy of that letter under the open meetings law and was told today that that is not appropriate. I'm going to file a public information request because I really would like to see if this problem, issue, question can be sorted out amicably and much more easily than having people make potential misstatements about he said, she said, who said. I think, we're all civilized folks here, and I think we can really come to some agreement. And so I'd like to see what that is in that letter, because Mr. Healy suggested that he was going to share that with the rest of the board. And if there are any misstatements or potential factual errors in that letter, I'd like to make sure that we have answers to the other side. Again, we're not the standard bearers here. This wasn't, we are just responding to the complaint. And, I'd like to say, just for the record, for anyone who may be listening, that my street creds in terms of flags is pretty high, having led this whole process of getting our Civil War burial flag through CPC into conservation. And in fact, I was the one, along with Patty Fiore, that had to unload it from the truck during COVID because no one else was there to do it, and actually help frame and hang it. So we certainly are respectful of our veterans. We're respectful of our flags. We just want to make sure that we have emblems flying in town that everyone is comfortable with. So I think that pretty well sums up that issue. Does anyone have any questions about that, or questions for Sally, or any other comments, or anything you'd like to say?
I just want to say that's excellent research, Sally, and thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Sally.
Michael, are they going to read that letter as part of the meeting on the 4th?
I don't know. I asked Marty for a copy of it. He refused. He said, I'd be happy to send it to you if it was my letter to them, but it's their letter to me. I said, is it a part of open meeting law? Mark Purple said no. He said, file a formal information request. They are going to share it with the selectmen. Obviously, I am just curious about this because I'd like to make sure that the information in that is correct and that the selectmen are able to make an informed and enlightened decision, having heard all sides of this story. I also pointed out that Claire Deans Rowe had this petition that she has asked to present and has not heard back from them, as well as having heard from other veterans who have written opposing the Gadsden flag and other flags, which are not referenced. And I pointed out again that the veterans of Southborough are not a monolithic block, that there are a variety of opinions within this. And again, I think if we stop flag waving, pardon the pun, we really could come to some logical and less emotional consensus on this issue that pleased everybody, or at least didn't displease anyone greatly, which is sort of the essence of compromise. So, nice haircut, Jim, by the way.
It's
Oh, it's just pulled back? Is this
just
yeah,
go back.
is
There's
this
no
pulled-
man.
you don't have a little ponytail back there, do you?
No, it's just
Oh.
out of the way for now.
Okay, just checking. Okay, so Sally, I think we're done. And by the way, I want to thank Sally again. Sally has been my go-to. The Historical Society used to have a post of historian. And I think that, when we finally meet again, that we should nominate Sally as the official historian in addition to being vice president, because anytime that we have a question, she goes to it and then either texts me or emails me and said, I've been spending hours and hours and hours on this. I can't get away.
There is something about going down a rabbit hole when you start doing this research, because one thing leads to another thing, leads to another thing. So
So I say to her, Sally, are you ready to give us a report on this? She's like, no, I'm not ready because I still already spent 25 hours looking at this and I'm not done yet. So I think we owe her a huge amount of thanks, because she taps not only our resources, but her vast, vast genealogical resources across all sorts of other media. So kudos and brava, my dear Sally. Thank you so much.
Sally, nice.
Thanks, Sally.
Okay. Sally, you're welcome to stay with us, or you can go away now, whatever you want to do.
I think I'm going to go eat dinner. Thank you.
Okay, sounds like a logical idea. All right, good for you. I wish we could do the same. Good night, my dear. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so now, Mr. Miller, welcome. I'd love for you to give us a 5-minute kind of overview of your perspective as a resident of Lattisquama about this EDC district bylaw discussion. Just as a parenthesis, I now understand that this may be pushed to a fall, or probably will be pushed to a fall special.
It has been pushed to fall.
It has been pushed.
It's officially been pushed to fall.
Okay, so the pressure's
Sorry.
off, because I had spoken to John Woods about saying, hey, by the way, you guys never even came to talk to us, and I hope you don't expect us to vote at town meeting on this thing. But as someone who's been involved in a lot of these meetings, I think Kevin has some perspective on this from an historical perspective. And so I'd just like to share some of his thoughts. So you have the floor, my friend, Mr. Miller.
Gosh, thank you, Michael. I'm a little caught flat-footed because I didn't expect to be either talking or on camera. And I know that some of you have been on these calls and have had the misfortune to hear me talk before at length. And, if you have, I have extensive feelings about the many aspects of the proposal, but my focus in comments to the planning board and the EDC and the BOS has been about the map and the area that encompasses, because it seems to me that all zoning proceeds from the map. This is the area where we're going to allow things to happen. And I've had a hard time, as someone relatively new to town, understanding, why the map proposes to encompass such a large area that has nothing to do with Main Street and Newton and Boston Road. In other words, the commercial sort of nexus of the town center, and why it would in fact extend, a full quarter of a mile. And I've always been clear about full disclosure that my backyard overlooks some of that property a quarter of a mile from Main Street. So I obviously have a vested interest. But I've not understood what the origins of the map are. It seems to be kind of a legacy issue, and easier just to work off the existing map than to actually address it. So that's been my point of concern. Now, the larger issue, I think, sort of concerning the historical commission is, personally, and again, it really is a personal opinion, I'd like to see the downtown initiative proposal encompass a kind of broader, more holistic view of what could be done to make Main Street more attractive, while respecting the historic component of this. I mean, there is, just as one example I mentioned to Michael the other day, a quite historic rubble barn that's on the property of 25 Park that, it was built, that's 120 years old. And it's quite an impressive, kind of magnificent structure. And it's those kinds of fears that I have about, what is the future of that? And is it going to, vanish like some other structures in town have, sort of overnight? And again, I'd just like to see a larger consideration of stuff that, Michael and I, the conversation we had, for instance, about the Southborough Arms and the possible resurrection of that one day, intrigues me. And I think that, for instance, on the, 11 Main property, that plaza, that were that redeveloped in a thoughtful, historically minded way, more could be done for the downtown and for commercial activity and for life there than could be accomplished sort of messing around with property that really doesn't seem to have anything to do with the downtown. So that's fundamentally where I've been coming from with regard to the whole initiative. So
No, and then that's
I wasn't really prepared.
I know that, and that's exactly great. I think that brings up the fact, John Wood, emailed me and said, oh, by the way, I think we need to talk to you guys about historic guidelines for this. And, my response back to him was, the guidelines should not follow the zoning. The guidelines should be part of the zoning, or this stuff, guidelines are just that. They're guidelines, which can easily be discarded, disregarded, or disposed of in about 5 seconds flat. And, without a lot of input here, in terms of historical weigh-in, I think this is somewhat problematic. I'm hugely supportive of the concept. I want to have something going on down there that we could all enjoy. But I think, I don't know. I just have problems with this ability to split off lots. I have problems with the ability to, we're talking about microbrewery and kind of sort of quasi-light industry and mixed use, all of which, when there's no sewage available, so it just, I don't know. I think we need a more thoughtful weigh-in. And I know, Jim, you were quite involved. I remember you were reading all these proposals, back when this was circulated. And in all fairness, you were quite involved in this. And I kind of brushed it off saying, this is never going to go anywhere because there's no way to get rid of the waste.
But that's changing, Michael. They have if you look at the most recent, I think it was minutes from last meeting or something, I forget where I saw it. There's a feasibility study underway for sewer that they're talking about and may wind up approving for it. So that I think I think that's the premise behind this, is that there's going to find a way to dispose of all any of this before they do any further development. It's kind of a linchpin.
Well, there's sewage and then there's sewage. Sewage wastewater from something like a brewery is a substantial quantity of stuff as opposed to, light residential use. So,
Agreed.
I don't know. Anyway, I just, I wanted to put this on our radar. I expect that we'll be talking more about it before the fall meeting. I've invited the EDC folks to come and present to us more formally. And so we can sort of weigh in and ask questions about this. Kate, where is this in the planning board process? Are they?
It's been in public hearing. So yeah, we've, they talk about it at all the, it's been part of a lot of the meetings that I've been in, but the public hearing process has been going on for, I think we have had about 4 or 5 public hearings about the downtown district.
And so have they come to some consensus on what the planning board is going to support or not support?
They have not voted. So what planning board always does is that they hold off onto holding, because they keep the public hearings open right up until town meeting, which is March 22nd. They typically will have a meeting the night before or the day of and submit a report about their feedback. At this point now, it's going to be pushed to fall special town meeting. So I'm guessing the planning board will either keep them open until then or close them from now, and then they'll have to reopen them. One way or another, they'll have to stay open in public hearing. But they have planning, Mr. Miller, Ray Hokinson, and other people have also submitted letters with their specific concerns that need to be addressed about the bylaw.
So, but they have not actually expressed independent views or taken a vote on the overall.
They have certainly expressed concern about up to about 7 or 8 issues that they have with the bylaw. It's not that they are not in support overall of the concept, like a lot of us are. I can't speak for them, but I can say that they do have a couple of issues, including the zoning map, the floor area ratio, a bunch of different issues that need to be resolved, in their opinion, before it necessarily goes up to vote.
Got it. Okay, well, that sort of puts that in perspective. So I expect that we'll be talking more about this
Well, and what I would say too is, hi, Kevin. Is that Ray Hokinson too reached out to me, and I think he may have reached out to one of you guys too, Rebecca or Michael. No, Ray Hokinson at 10 Main
Yes.
Street.
Yes.
So he had asked a couple questions, and then he has said at a couple of the meetings as well, he expressed an interest in the Historical Commission being a little bit more involved. So I didn't know if that's something that we wanted to perhaps write a letter to the EDC and just request that, you know, they involve us a little bit in the process to provide some feedback
Well,
from, so it is more holistic.
I did actually write to John Wood and said, hey, you know, we would like to hear from you. Come talk to us. And he said, yes, we'll come speak with you.
Great.
10 Main
And I'm
Street.
sure that they will, because they do want to be accommodating, and they want, you know, they want to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone has agreed that we want something done with the downtown. It's just,
Absolutely.
you know, the devil's in the details here. 10 Main Street, I wrote back to Mr. Hokinson.
Yep, Hokinson, yep.
Hokinson, I didn't hear back. So
Okay.
I did write to him. He's that 10 Main is the house with that incredible crop of crocus growing in the lawn.
Yes.
Is it not?
Yep.
How he's able to do that
Isn't it
without
beautiful?
having the squirrels and the chipmunks eat them every year, I don't
I
know.
know.
But that is
Mine
just,
get eaten by bunnies, but yes, they are. They're beautiful. So,
must be-
yes, so he's reached out too. So,
okay.
like I said, you know, the planning board hasn't expressed, you know, a vote. They've expressed some concerns that they feel need to be worked on at this point.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for that.
Sure.
All right, well, you're up next again because we're going into housekeeping, treasury report, signs and other budgetary items.
Okay, awesome. As far as treasurer's report, I did receive an email from Carla McAuliffe. Wait, is that, yeah, that's her name, is Carla. Yes, Carla McAuliffe, town accountant. And the water bill is officially out of our budget, so we won't have to pay for the water bill. So right now, our budget up for approval at town meeting right now, and just hold on, is going to be, so adjusted, it will be 3362, down from 3,500, because they took the water out. But I did also speak with the
Oh,
treasurer.
they took the water out of our budget?
They did,
Yeah,
yeah.
of course.
And then I
Heaven
did also,
forbid we should buy some filing paper or something.
I know,
I know.
but at least it's really small. It's a really small amount, so that's great. But it's just one less thing we have to deal with.
Hallelujah.
And water rates are going up again, so that's really nice. The other issue is Brian Ballantyne did call me, the treasurer, and I don't have anything official on this, but he did mention that they might have some money in the budget here, you know, because the fiscal year ends June 30th, that he is taking the next step to figure out whether they can just deal with the internet for us. So I do know that they're working on it. I knew they've been great. I've talked with Brian a bit. I told him I'd be happy to help with whatever I can do. So it's not official, but I do know that they recognize that it's a priority and they're trying to work on it for us. So then I would expect to see that our budget will be adjusted for that too. So it will be closer back to the between $200 and $2,500 again, if that happens.
Well, let us remind everyone that we need now still, the 2,500 was not sufficient to pay our recording services and we're paying below rate. So, you know, we'll need to budget, you know, 12 times 100 to 150, whatever that is for recording secretary. So that
Well, I think that that is gonna be something that they discuss too, because across all the different boards and committees, figuring out recording secretary services has become, you know, it's a real, not issue is not the right word, but it's something that needs to be factored into budgets as well. So, but yes, I'm working on it.
I did appear in front of advisory about the budget. They didn't seem to have
Okay.
problems about that.
No, and I think everybody's in support of it. I just think this is a difficult year with the pandemic, that they're just trying to figure out numbers and money. But I do know that they hear us as far as the internet, and I feel very confident that they're going to try to work that out for us.
Hey, are those incredible postcards I see behind you in that
They
photo
sure
frame?
are. Look at those. I think-
Wow. Wow. That is really clever. Did you decide to do them in that shadow box like that?
So I did, the two that you see like the beige border around, I had professionally framed, and then the other ones I put them in a shadow box because they just looked so pretty like that.
Wow, that's great. That is great. Well done, you. Well
Thank you.
done. Okay, signs.
I delivered another one of our free signs today to the house on Gilmore, 19 Gilmore. So that was great. And my lovely friend Bob Leonard is traveling right now, so he with family. So I am working on getting a template for the exterior sign from him, and I will hopefully have a template for our next meeting.
Perfect, because our sign is in.
I know, and I
Incredible
walked by
disrepair.
it the other day, and I took another picture of it for him too, because for some reason the last one he didn't see clearly or something. But he is away right now, and I didn't realize he's quite as old as he is either. So I'm going to let him travel in peace before and visit his family before I harass him a little bit more.
Kevin had actually sent to me the picture, speaking of signs, of the incredible Common Street sign that used to be by the town hall that we had worked with Karen Galligan so hard to supposedly preserve. And he had noticed it on the ground for a month or two, and then he noticed it on the ground broken in half.
Oh.
So,
but I have two more free signs to give away, and there's a lovely property at 18 Ladisquama that's been fully renovated as well. So I
Sign me
do
up.
have two free signs to give away still.
oh, I don't know. That may be a conflict of interest.
I know. Well, not
That
yet.
may be the price you pay for joining us, my friend. I
Well,
think
but he's not on it yet.
that's true. That's true.
Right.
So
Yeah, and did we ever send a sign over to the folks on Corderville, Parkerville Road
I
that
did not.
that?
No.
Can we approach them? Do you
What
know
number
what I'm
is it?
talking about? That did that incredible renovation and then
Does
now
anybody
was
know the address?
Oh, I'll look it up. I walk by it a lot. It's the greenhouse near the wetlands with the red barn. They've really, yes, it's incredible what they've
I'm
done.
not over there a lot. Rebecca, will you just let me know the address maybe in the
Sure.
homeowner, and I could maybe send an email? I can't shove things in people's mailboxes. It's
No,
not
it's-
allowed. And since I work for the town clerk, I'm really not gonna do that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll look into that.
So the same with people on Ladisquama. I haven't shoved things in people's mailboxes, so.
That's good. That's good.
Applications.
Want to keep you legal. Don't want to have you
Right.
jailed.
Don't wanna get
Time. We'll
fired.
slip below quorum.
Mhm.
Okay, so anything else from any other members? Annie, do you have anything to report to us from the CPC?
I do, yes, thank you. So we met on last month on March 18th to vote on the last remaining article for town meeting. Of course, that was our the big townhouse project. And despite some initial questioning in earlier meetings, it did pass unanimously to be fully funded for the complete project. I think it's a total of just over 2.2 million, of which the plan is to bond just over 2 million for a 20-year period, and then pay for the remainder out of, appropriate the remainder out of available funds. Two additions to the proposal that we discussed in our, that we voted to incorporate into the warrant, is that we are asking the town not to sell the property. So for example, CPC did quite a bit of work on, CPA funding was used to do work on South Union. And now they are, proposing to sell that building. So that's one stipulation that we incorporated into the article. And then the other one is that we are requiring a preservation restriction. So as you guys know, there's a lot of details and work that goes into that part. And we're still finalizing the exact language. We actually have a meeting at 7 o'clock tonight that will go over all of that. But it's a win that the townhouse will be preserved, and it'll be fully funded from the CPA. So I think that's great news for the town.
Great news.
Yes, and I appeared in front of advisory for that, and they voted in favor. And I appeared in advisory in front of our schoolhouse project, and they were in favor of that as well. We did kind of go down a side street for a very long time about the National Register District. They were curious to know about that and where it was going and would that provide any additional funding. And I was trying to explain that it was an honorific mostly. But have we heard anything more about that, Rebecca?
No, the last note I got from Mass Historical was that they hope to have it sent on to the National Register by the end of the year.
Okay. All right. And so that is that. All righty. Is there any other relevant business? Jim, are you raising your hand?
I am, yeah. I didn't, was not able to be in the full session last time. I had to leave early, as you remember. But I did go through the minutes, obviously, and there was comments in there about our ongoing project to true up how the building department deals with historic properties. There's a mention, I've heard two different things. One is that Mark and company said they have an IT guy on board. I don't know if he's been hired yet, but that would be one way to address these gaps in the process. There was also a tracking sheet that you had talked about. So I just was wondering if there's a moment here for an update on best way to approach that overall situation.
So where we are at now is that we are waiting for the IT folks to see whether or not that they can propose some sort of solution. At the urging of Mark Purple, which I thought was a reasonable request. The building department does not seem interested or willing to go back to any sort of paper system. So yeah, I don't know what to tell you. So hopefully we'll get some resolution there. I may send you back as ambassador to see if we can actually.
Happy. Yeah. Is the IT guy on board yet?
Yeah, he's hired. He's
no.
hired. No, what?
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. Hired, and I believe it's the 20th, Jim, that the new IT person starts.
Starts, okay.
I believe it's the 20th. 20th or the 22nd. I can confirm. I can look at some of my minutes and.
Oh, that's fine. And he's going to be. He's going to be besieged with things that have malfunctioned or not gone well or need improvement during this time. However, I did talk to Lisa Braccio about this, and she assured me that this would be on the top of her agenda to try to get the building.
Sam just confirmed that it's Tuesday, the 20th.
Okay.
So thanks, Sam. I appreciate that. I couldn't remember. It's a blur.
It's a blur. It's a
I
blur.
take a lot of notes.
Well, Michael, obviously, one of the things I want to make sure is we didn't miss any review of any applications in this gap period.
I've got nothing. So, and you've got nothing. I still get the thing pinging me for uploaded applications. I did get today the final plans, which for 45 Highland Street, which they're now asking for some official letter for. I said they looked fine. We've already voted on this, but they want something in writing. So I'm just going to put it on letterhead that we've already voted. They look fine. I know those folks are under intense pressure to try to get this done in a really quick period of time for financing reasons. So I don't want to be the one that holds them up even for a day. So yeah, other than that, I think, that's all I've heard. Hopefully nothing else has been happening. In the meantime, I spoke with Lisa about this, quite at length, saying it was tantamount that we patch the holes in this online processing system so that we don't lose any more historic buildings because we don't have that many more to lose. So she's promised that would be a priority. So we'll see what happens. So
Unusual that it has been so quiet, isn't it?
highly unusual.
Yeah, it's a little eerie.
It's a little eerie, especially in terms of the fact that, there's been so many I shouldn't say so many house sales, because there hasn't been a lot of house sales, but they've been extraordinary prices of house sales. If you haven't looked recently, you're far wealthier than you were at the beginning of the year. If you want to sell your house right at the moment. I happen to know, I know a former member of this commission who's a real estate agent who would practically pay you, pay you extra to sell your houses because they're going, 10% over asking price. But anyway, So that's it, I think. Does anyone else have any other questions, comments that they would like to do? Nope, nope. So Kevin, all you need to do if you would like to join our merry band is fill out that paperwork at the town office. They will forward it to me and I will forward over a recommendation for you. We'd love to have you. As you can see, we're a happy, jovial group.
You are a happy, jovial group. And can I just thank you for sandbagging me in this way and pulling me into this meeting, which I didn't expect, but I appreciate, and I'm very grateful to get such a happy, pleasant reception from you all. And I have to say that none of this is anything I've sought, but I do take the view that I can't go gadding about from board to board objecting to things, which I feel like I've been doing for several months without being willing to put my back into it a little bit myself. And so that's really the motivation and the reason why I'm here and happy to be here. So again, thanks so much for allowing me in for a few minutes. I really appreciate it.
Our pleasure. And
this will not be the first time you're sandbagged, so.
Oh, no. And we've learned to delegate expertly here at the Historical Commission. Everyone has, it's like a whole cabinet. Everyone has their own little subdivision that they're in charge of. So yeah, we'd love to have you. So fill that out. We'll send it up. And obviously it's up to the selectmen, but I don't foresee any problem. Well, I shouldn't say that. I would hope there would not be any problems. Anyway, so any other business that may legally come before the commission with the understanding that substantive deliberation may need to be postponed to a subsequent meeting to accommodate open meeting laws. Hearing none, I will move to adjourn.
Second.
I need a first.
Oh, I make the motion to adjourn.
Alrighty, and
Second.
I hear multiple seconds. I think we'll say it's Annie. I think you got in there slightly first. So there you go. You have the honor of closing out this meeting. Before we do, actually, one last, we're closed, but I just want to reconfirm the date of our next meeting. Can someone pull that out from the minutes, please? It should be at the end of the minutes because I was relying on our dear friend Dean to send out those wonderful little calendar notes that he sends out when he does this.
13th.
May 13th.
There was a whole list of them in the minutes, as a matter of fact. At the end.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I just, I didn't get the calendar event notice, so I wasn't 13th May. So, okay. And I'll do that. I'll pull that from the minutes and I'll send, because the problem is if you send these calendar events and then the town sends them, it kind of duplicates. It's kind of a messy thing with the open source or whatever it's called. Okay, 13 May, the folks from 15 Main Street would like to come back and talk to us about plans. So that will be coming up. Oh, excuse me. All right, so that's it, everyone. Thank you so much for another episode of the Southborough Historical Commission. Tune in next month when we will be discussing things of equal note and value. Until then, I'm your host, Michael Weisson, saying good night.
Good night, all.
Bye. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye-bye.